Hi, this is Jeff from Airstream Nerds, and one of the very first things that every RV owner should purchase for their new RV or used RV is a tire pressure monitoring system, or TPMS for short. I purchased one for mine, but I've just upgraded to something new. When I get back, I'm going to show you what I had, we're going to talk about what I got, I'm going to go over the differences, and I'm going to tell you why you need one.
Airstream song, cruising to the campsite singing our song. Airstream song, we are the Airstream Nerds. Yeah!
To start off real quick, some of you might say, well, why do we need a TPMS for our camper? Well, those of you that have Airstreams have probably read the horror stories about a blowout and what a blowout can do to the wheel well and to the structure of our campers. And I'm sure the same goes with all the other brands that are out there. When a wheel blows out and the pieces of rubber are still on there, it's like a wrecking ball for everything in its way. So the reason why you want a good reliable TPMS is the instant that the tire blows out, or the tire starts losing air, or the tire gets too hot, you get an audible and a visual warning on the monitor that is inside the cab of your tow vehicle. That audible alarm that you hear seconds after it happens, or milliseconds after it happens, depending, is the difference between tearing up the side and possibly, if you only have one axle, losing control of your vehicle. It gives you enough time to pull over and safely and hopefully without harm to your trailer, get the issue resolved. Without that, you can drive down the road, especially when you have a vehicle, a trailer like ours that has dual axles. We can lose a tire and drive for a while and never know until something breaks and we notice it. Start seeing pieces flying down the road, or someone behind us races up beside us and says, hey, your parts are all over the road. So when I read that, when we first got, maybe even before we purchased this Airstream many years ago, 2015, one of the things that we knew we were going to buy was a tire pressure monitoring system. And doing my due diligence and researching all the different brands at the time, TST was the winner in my mind. TST stands for Truck, just want to make sure I'm right, Truck System Technologies. It's a US company, and they have, so far in the 6 years, I've had great customer service from them. When I purchased this, I had a couple of questions. I called, I got an answer right away. They do a great job. They claim, and their claim is correct as far as I'm concerned, that there's lifetime customer support, and the hardware itself is a 3-year warranty. Now, I've had this system. It's a little black and white monitor. I've got it set up. It looks like that going down the road. It cycles through the tires, and it tells you the pressure and the temperature as it rotates through each tire. It's a few seconds on each tire. Right now there's nothing because they're asleep, because we're not moving. I do have one of the sensors here. I have the scanner here, and I have the mount that I created a base for my situation. I have video for this. I'll put a link to below so you guys can maybe get a creative idea how to mount these things. I was flipping through a trade magazine a few weeks back, and I came across a color display that TST has come out with. So I reached out to Mike at TST. I explained to them who we are, what we do, and he said, sure, I'll hook you up, as long as we do an honest review of his product. Well, I'm telling you, based on the old stuff, his product is awesome. But let's see about the new stuff. So what he gave me, it's kind of cool. I got a hat, a pen, a pad, a screen cleaner, all stuff that was unnecessary. I appreciate it. It's really cool. But what I really was looking forward to was a discounted price, like a discount on this. Well, he took care of me. So let's see what we got in the box here. He sent me 3 things. The first thing is a whole new setup. So I have the 4 systems for the trailer. I have the new monitor. Now what's on front is just a sticker. So I'm taking the sticker off. See what else I have here. I have a manual, of course, a tire truck system technology sticker, a warranty registration card, which of course I'm going to go online and fill this out. This is the first time I've opened this, so you're seeing it as I see it. So we have a mount. This is a suction cup with a, these kind generally work way better than the kind where you just lick them, stick them. This actually creates a vacuum, and it'll hold a lot better as long as your window is nice and clean. Let's see, here is a rubber type of mount. Basically you just set it on the dash and set this cradle. Sits in like a cradle. Let's see, looks like they've changed the design of their tool. The old tool looks like this. The new tool has a little wrench on the end as opposed to just an end. It looks pretty much the same size. But your old wrench, the opening is not big enough for the new sensors. So you've got a couple of wrenches here. You've got a cigarette lighter 12 volt accessory plug to USB little adapter. Most of us have USB ports in our vehicle, so while this is great, I probably will not use it. And unlike the other one, which has a very small pin type DC plug and a built-in 12 volt adapter type plug, this is that a micro USB, I believe? It's not USB-C. I think that's a micro USB. Let's see real quick. USB, charging port. It doesn't really say. Probably is in there, but take my word for it. It is a micro USB, which is nice because all of us have tons of these types of cables laying around. So if something ever happens to this cable, it's a simple replace the cable from your office drawer or whatever, as opposed to this one, which is a specialty cable. So that's nice. Let's see what else comes in the box. Now the mount is a it's not a universal type mount where there's a hole or something. It is a type of mount that you can see there's little plastic pieces that slide in and lock this in place. Maybe I can retrofit this somehow. Seems like this would be an easy thing to retrofit. It kind of, the way this goes together, it's kind of like a GoPro mount. So maybe I can figure out some way to take this little piece off of the suction cup mount and work it into my old mounting system. Just remake this piece. We'll figure that out at a later time. Let's see what else is in here. You have, I guess the plastic is generic because there's places for a whole lot of sensors. Like I said, this system is designed for a commercial environment. So it's not just for us RVs, but also 18-wheelers use these a lot. They have all those tires, and you've always seen the shredded tires laying down the road. Those things can take out brake lines and other things on those heavy commercial vehicles. Also came with some spare parts, some spare gaskets, some spare nuts. Not familiar with what these nuts, there has to be something internal, because I know there's nothing on the old sensors that resemble those, but we'll figure that out shortly. The familiar sensor stickers, so you can label your sensors and you can write the label numbers for the different wheels in the manual, or a diagram that you draw up or whatever. So it's nice to be able to have a sensor number, so if you take them off to change the batteries, they're labeled and you can put them back in the right spot. So that's what these labels are for. Also, as part of this kit, now this is the, oh geez, I forget the part number. Give me a second here. It's in the box. So this kit is the TST 507 RV4C. So it's basically a 4-cap sensor TPMS. But this particular model comes with the repeater. So this repeater is a little device that you can turn on and off to extend. Now I've found that by installing this repeater that I get a much faster and a much more consistent signal. Now, as in previous video, I created a on-off switch for the repeater. Now this repeater looks like I know from talking to Mike that all of this has new technology. So while your old stuff will work, like your old sensors will work with this system, the new sensors and the new repeater is a little bit better technology, longer range, things like that. But it looks like there is now an on-off switch. There's nothing here that says that what the button on the front of this repeater does. It doesn't say that it's used to sync it. It doesn't say if it's a power button, but it definitely clicks. So I'm assuming that's what it is. Now, I also figured out what the little brass colored nuts are for. These are locking nuts. So you can put these down onto your Schrader valve, put the sensor on, and then snug this nut up against this, which tightens this, and it's like an anti-theft type setup. So I'll probably not be using that. I parked my camper at home. If I parked it at a lot or something like that, I probably would put them on. And it's not really that big of a theft deterrent. You basically hold on to this and hold on to this and just turn the nut, and it'll loosen it all up. But it does make it a little bit more difficult because you need a thin wrench the right size to get into the wheel and unlock these. So just like anything, everything can be defeated, but something is better than nothing. So these are the new sensors, and these are the old sensors. You can see the old sensors are inside this protective, like, security block. So they've changed the way they do the security. It used to be the sensors go inside of this, you screw this top on, there's another gasket here, it's all this stuff, and then to put these on the camper, this whole setup spins. So you have to take this wrench, that's what this wrench is for. You take this wrench, you slide it on there, and then you turn this whole thing to tighten it. Otherwise, this outside part spins when you're holding it. Now, I never really liked it. I never really liked that method. I liked the fact that it was more secure. But again, it was a simple matter of putting a small wrench in there and holding one part while you twist the other, and it could easily be defeated. So less parts, less little screws to strip, one less gasket to worry about, and essentially this sensor is inside this little security case. Now, I know what you're going to say. I could have just taken the security case off and used the original sensor. That defeats the whole thing. It came with it, so I used it. So, as I said, sensors are about the same size. You can see the display is a much larger display for this whole thing. I do like that. Especially for where the location where this sits. It sits in an area that, to be honest with you, I may not need to make a mount. If you're familiar with the Ford pickup trucks, I have this space on the dash in between my GPS and my backup camera where it's flat, and this would sit on there just fine. This is flexible. It's a silicone type deal, so it won't slide, and it holds the monitor in real well. It's got the places in the back that holds it from tipping over. So I'm going to give this a try first. It's much easier to set this up like this than screwing all this together every time, even though this is cool. But once I do the install video, I will 100% show you guys how I decided. So there is some charge on this, so let me go up here on the camera and show you guys at least what the display looks like. So when it first comes on, it's nice and pretty and lit up like that. Now you're not going to see anything at this point because there's no sensors hooked up. And the battery comes fully charged. So like I said, we're going to figure out the whole setup of this thing, and I will go ahead and explain how to configure everything in my next video. So I'm really excited about the color. You know how I am. I like gadgets, and this is a new gadget, and it's color, and it's pretty. So the second thing he sent me, well, the fifth or sixth thing if you count the hat and the pen and stuff, was the sunshade. The sunshade is basically just a little plastic piece. Oh, I like the way this goes on. Slides over the antenna, and we'll show this up close. Again, the sunshade is nice the way that it just slides on right over the antenna. You gotta put it on straight. Slides right over the antenna, and it blocks. It gives a nice, so you don't get washed out when you're driving down the road. Now, my vehicle does pretty good with sun, but I will show once I get this thing installed and rolling down the road. Yeah, it's easier trying to snap this on if you do it with both hands and you slide it down evenly. It goes on really nice and smooth and locks in place. The part number for this, if it has one, it's the TST 507 WSD SS, the sunshade for the widescreen display. It's pretty cool. It's definitely gonna be installed on there, and we'll see what that's like going down the road. Now, the coolest thing that, not that this isn't cool, this is pretty cool. You know I like my gadgets, and this is cool. I'm really excited to get this together and set it up. But this next thing is something I haven't really seen anything about before. So it is a new concept for me. I'm sure there's other people out there that have seen something like this, but I never thought about it. I can honestly say I've never checked my spare tire. I can honestly say that my spare tire is still a Goodyear Marathon. I didn't replace it. It's a spare. I haven't checked the pressure of the spare tire. I haven't checked it. It's been tucked up under there. And I probably need to check it and replace it, because that would be 6 years. This year is the 6th year, and you're supposed to replace the tires every 5 years or so, just due to age, because we don't use these as often. So you really go by age in your trailer as opposed to tire wear. It's very rare that you're going to wear out a tire on your trailer before it needs to be replaced. You can prolong that time period by keeping them covered to protect them from UV and stuff like that. But in general, rule of thumb is 5 years. But this is it's called Spare Air by TST. And it is a tire hose kit. Let me explain what this means. So you have your spare tire. It's under the front of our Airstreams here. It's hard to get to. You have to crawl under it. It's dirty. Then you have to get a pressure gauge on there just to see. And if you have to fill it with air, you're under there for a while. That's why probably most of us don't check the spare tire. Now, I'm sure that there is a bunch of you guys that, but they sure didn't want parts falling out of this, did they? But like I was saying, I'm sure there are a bunch of you that say, you know what? I check my spare tire. I change my tires every 5 years. I check my pressures on every trip. I check my lug nuts before I leave the house, and when I get to the campground, and when I leave the campground. There's lots of you out there that are very, very good at tire maintenance. But I can guarantee you that there's just as many of us or more that don't. So the easier you can make it to test this stuff, the more chances that we check that stuff. So what this is, it's a bracket. It is a Schrader valve connector and a small hose. And what this hose does is one end connects to the Schrader valve of your spare tire underneath the camper. Find a location, couple of number 8 bolts or stainless bolts or whatever, into a good location where you can access this, somewhere up near the battery box maybe. Our battery box has been converted to just a storage box, so this would be something good that I could just bolt maybe to the inside and bring this wire through one of the side holes, and that way this is inside. I don't know, I haven't really looked, but what this does is this part screws onto here. There are nuts and bolts and everything. So this Schrader valve assembly gets bolted to the bracket. This part goes up underneath your camper and attaches to the Schrader valve on the tire. Now, the cool part about this spare tire, and the bad part of having dogs, is you get dog hair everywhere. Got a piece in my mouth. That was weird. It's not like I've never had dog hair in my mouth though. The cool thing is you can take a sensor and you can screw the sensor onto the Schrader valve inside my battery box or wherever you mount this bracket, and you can add this sensor to your TST system. So not only having this bracket makes this way more easy to access your Schrader valve on your spare tire, but you can Again, go back to not really paying much attention to it because you can monitor it while you're driving down the road. So you'll know if your spare tire doesn't have air in it when you first start driving. So it kind of gives you a notification, so to speak. It puts this in the front of my mind. When I first start setting up the vehicle for us to go camping, I start setting up everything. One of the last things I do is set the electronics up in the cab, and I put my tire pressure system in and I turn it on. Now I know that my sensors aren't going to connect because they haven't been moved for however long the trailer's been stuck in the driveway. But once I start moving, they'll come up. This is going to be a reminder that yes, I have 5 sensors, not 4, because I have 4 tires and a spare. So this is a good use for my old sensors. It'll be right there in the front, nice and solid. I really like this product. Again, I've never seen something like this. I'm sure this isn't something that's like a brand new concept. I'm sure that there are other people that have done something like this, but I think this is pretty awesome, and it's going to do a lot to ease that maintenance aspect of the tires, for sure. What I'm going to do next is we're going to do an install of these devices. So look for that video coming up in a few weeks, a couple of weeks probably. I'm going to configure everything. I'd rather not sit here and read the manual and figure out how to configure everything on camera. The video will take forever. I'm sure this doesn't take that long. It didn't take me that long to do the first set, and this is probably very similar or easier, more likely. And I will show that entire step-by-step process on how you add sensors to the new monitoring system. I will show you how I set up the spare air. I will show you how you add an old sensor to the spare air, and any other little tips or tricks that I come up with or I figure out during this process. So check back soon. Once again, this is Jeff
and Jenny,
and we're the Airstream Nerds. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, put any comments below, and we'll see you on the next trip.